There are three basic ways to complete a long division. The first is referred to as the chunking method, and that involves getting multiples of the number you're dividing by. Usually you start with sets of 10 or sets of 20. If we start in this case with a set of 20, you would write 24 times 20, which equals 480. So then you would subtract 480 from 720. So 0 from 0 gives 0. 8 from 2 we need to borrow, so that gives 4, leaves 6 there, so that gives 240. Now we're going to do another block of 24, and this time it's times 10, which gives 240. So we know 240, which we subtract, which you can see without really calculating, is going to give 0, 0, 0. The next step, there's lots of different ways to do. However, this is the method I use. I cross off one dividing by, and I cross it off here, and I cross it off here. And then I circle the multiples, and I would add those together, which in this case is very straightforward and gives 30. And that then is the answer for the chunking method. Method 2 is called the bus stop method. Again, working with the same calculation, we've got 24 into, and I deliberately rule both these lines, into 720. At this point, it's good practice to write out some of the 24 times table. So we know 1 times 24 is going to give 24. And we can double that to give us 2 times 24, which gives 48. Double that again, and notice the way I'm leaving a space. We get 4 times 24, so that's double 48, which is 96. And if I leave another 5, 6, 7, and put 8 times 24, which again is doubling, we get 192. And we also can fill in 10 times 24 equals 240. And by working from that, we can work out what 5 times is by halving it. 120. I would usually stop there because there's a good chance I can use all that to solve. So 24 into 72, well, it's 48, is twice. So we are actually going to need to work out what 3 times 24 is. Now we've got 48, and we add 24 to 48 to give us 72. So we actually know that that goes 3 times, and there's nothing carried, so that becomes 30. So that's very straightforward in this particular case. The final method is the way that people were taught in school up until about the 1980s. And again, we're using the same basic stuff. So we're going 24, 48, 72. So we know that that's 3 times. We subtract here. I've seen some people writing this out as 30 times, but I would actually write it out as 3 times 24 if you want to annotate, because that's what gives 72. 30 times 24 does not give 72. And then we zero, and we zero again. So that is the basic way. We drop down the 0 from there, and then we move it there because 24 into there goes 0. Okay, and that makes sense? That's the methods. Okay, this time we're looking at 24 into 600. Again, we need to rule off neatly. And we start off with using chunking method, 24 times 20, which gives 480. You could do 2 sets of 10, but most children will confidently be able to multiply by 2 and then by 10. So that gives us 480, which leaves us a remainder of 120 when we subtract, and encourage the children to rule lines in between. And then 24 into 120, well, 24 times 10 is too big because that's 240, so we halve that, and 24 times 5 equals 120, which gives us the answer. because we end up with 0 here, and it's important that the children mark that down so they know there's no remainders. So, cross off the 24s because that's what we're dividing by, circle the multiples, and that gives us an answer of 25. Okay, this time I've jumped on to the point where we've worked out most of the multiples. We just need to finish with the 10 times 24, which gives us 240. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 24, and we're looking for something that gets close to 60. Well, 48 is the closest because the next one would be 72. So we end up with 48. 24 into 48 goes twice, and that leaves a remainder, goes twice, and that leaves a remainder of 12, which becomes 120, and then 24 into 120 goes 5 times. Our final method takes 24 again into 600. And this time we do 48, which is 2 times. So we put the 2 up there. We drop down the difference like we were doing with the chunking method. And then we drop this down. So that goes to there. And then we're now doing 24 into 120, which gives 5. I personally think this is the clearest method. And that's why I like this one. And that's what I would teach with my class. Again, it's worth writing out the multiples first, because you are working with large numbers, and that makes the actual division much easier to complete.